The Great Libraries of Timbuktu, Africa's hidden legacy. They told you Africa had no written history, that everything was oral, that there were no books, no libraries, no scholars. But that was a lie. Because in Mali, Timbuktu, an African city, became the home of one of the greatest centers of knowledge the world has ever known. And today, its legacy is still alive. Let's go back to the 14th and 15th centuries. Timbuktu sat at the crossroads of the trans-Saharan trade routes. Gold flowed in, salt flowed in, ideas flowed in, and with trade came books, manuscripts carried across the desert by camel caravans. Some were purchased with gold, some were copied by hand, some were written by African scholars themselves. By the 1500s, Timbuktu was bursting with knowledge. Over 25,000 students studied in its universities. The most famous? Sankore University. It wasn't just a building. It was a network of scholars, teachers, and libraries. Imagine streets lined with book markets. Imagine scholars debating law, science, and faith under the desert sun. Imagine libraries filled with leather-bound manuscripts. What kind of knowledge did they hold? Astronomy, mapping the stars and predicting eclipses, medicine, treatments, surgery, anatomy, mathematics, algebra, geometry, even trigonometry, law and governance, how to lead just societies, and philosophy, debates on the human soul, ethics, and the universe. This wasn't just African history, this was world history, because the manuscripts of Timbuktu connected Africa with the wider world, with Egypt, with Morocco, with the Islamic world, and beyond. Some scholars estimate there were hundreds of thousands of manuscripts, covering every topic you can imagine. Knowledge that surpassed Europe's libraries during the very time Europe was still climbing out of the Dark Ages. But here's the question. If Timbuktu's libraries were so great, why don't we learn about them in school? Because colonialism rewrote the story. European powers wanted to paint Africa as a land without history, a land without books, without knowledge, without civilization. So manuscripts were stolen, some were burned, others were hidden away, buried in trunks, forgotten in desert homes. By the 19th century, Timbuktu's glory was deliberately erased, and the myth of an Africa without history spread across the world. But the story doesn't end there, because Timbuktu's people refused to let their history die. Families secretly guarded manuscripts for generations. When extremists threatened Timbuktu in the 21st century, librarians and ordinary citizens risked their lives. They smuggled over 350,000 manuscripts out of the city, hidden in rice sacks and metal trunks, moved in the middle of the night down the Niger River into safe houses. Today, those manuscripts are being digitized, preserved for the world, available online for anyone to see. And what do they reveal? They prove Africa was never a land without writing. They prove Africans were scientists, doctors, and philosophers long before colonial schools existed. They prove that knowledge is not the property of one continent, but a shared human treasure. And here's the modern connection. When people tell you Africa had no history, no books, no science, point them to Timbuktu. When people say black people didn't build civilizations of learning, point them to Sankore University. When they say Africa only gave the world slaves and resources, point them to the manuscripts that still survive. The libraries of Timbuktu are a reminder. That history was rewritten to diminish us, but the truth has always been there, waiting to be reclaimed. So the next time someone tells you Africa was a dark continent, tell them about the thousands of manuscripts filled with light. This is Sankofa Secrets, where we reclaim the past to illuminate the future. Don't let history be stolen from you again. Subscribe now and join us as we uncover the truths they don't want you to know.